Sorry, what was the question?
Greetings and salutations, race fans, motorsport lovers, and others. You know who you are, and welcome to a midweek program specially brought to you by the production team and the superstars at Raceday.tv. Thanks a lot for joining us. Full show tonight. We're going to talk. South Africans dominated. They took over America. They won Daytona. South Africans are about to take over Australia and do their thing at Bathurst. And a ginger, him, is about to take over SWAT Corps. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Midweek Race Day. My name is Colin. He's Andrew. He's your guy if you want to have any questions, comments. He's your proxy, your representative in the studio. Don't complain that you do not have a voice. He's your voice. So if you want to ask any questions, have a query, or want to tell us something, write it in the comments, either on our Facebook page on Raceday.tv, or if you want to look on your TV, go to YouTube and put in a comment there. We are joined by the world's fastest ginger himself, the one and only, the Free State boy, the fastest ginger in the world, Stuart White. Stuart, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here with you and Andrew. Looking forward to the show.
It's Colin, how you doing?
Freaking awesome. Oh,
You got all that sand out of your ears after Dakar.
well, luckily we were in our virtual sandpit and we played here and we did what we needed to do here. It was absolute fun. It was
Brilliant.
an epic race.
It was a good Dakar, as Evan Hutchinson said, is back. It's what we remember as the Dakar, what we know as the Dakar.
There are a couple of things. I think they've got to sort out a bit of route. But the good news is that Raceday.tv may have improved coverage over what we had this year. Watch this space. It is with our financial, our legal, and our production department at the moment. They are busy furiously negotiating and learning French and Arabic. But we start this show on a really cock note, on a note that saddens me deeply, and I don't know how to say it. All I want to say is that Chris Clark, you were a legend. You had no longer are you strong as an ox, but you are as strong as an ox. Chris Clark, very sadly, was tragically murdered on Sunday, in a senseless, stupid, idiotic, moronic, and totally unnecessary act of our... To Chris's family, to Nick, his wife, and the racing community, our sincere condolences to you all. Chris was and is a living legend. He will live on in our hearts, and we will remember him for his crazy, stupid, illogical devotion to a wooden chassis car. He loved his Morgans, he loved racing, he loved historics. He will be missed, and he will join the long list of races in the sky. And that race in heaven is going to be epic. One day, I will report back, and we will come back. Rest in peace, Chris. And to your family, may you find strength wherever it comes from. Go well, my friend. Cheers. It's cuck.
I think Chris is going to leave a big hole this weekend at SWAT Corps.
Yeah.
He was due to line up in his Titan Formula 4.
He loved that thing, eh?
He loved that thing. It's a beautiful car, and he drove it well. He did that car justice, and I think
whatever he drove, he wrung its neck.
Yeah, he did it justice, and I think the single-seater guys this weekend at SWAT Corps are going to miss him sorely. I know, as one of my friends, I'm going to miss him sorely.
I think it's going to be a hard weekend for most of the guys at SWAT Corps, but I know he'll be in everyone's hearts, and I'm pretty sure there'll be some memorial lap or something for him.
And the other thing is that, sometimes races are seen as cruel. A guy dies, gets killed, and the world moves on. And I know Chris would have been the first to say, don't stop, go and race on in his memory and celebrate his life. So that's what we will do, Chris. We will drink many, many vitamin beverages in your memory, and we will We will enjoy the memories and the joy that you gave us in your hearts. Thank you very much. Go well. It's very difficult to move from something that I might have some sand in my eyes, but to move on to better things. Old fart here, your proxy, the horn dog, turned, how old are you now, Andrew?
34. God, it's old, hey?
It's nearing retirement.
I don't know how. So happy birthday to Andrew from some time past. And then a legend. And the purpose of Raceday, in case you haven't worked it out, and don't forget to send some questions, queries, comments to the horn dog, and he'll read them out, and the clever ginger will try and answer them. And dumb old me, we'll work on it. We'll find a way, and if not, we'll invent an answer. Where was I?
The birthday.
Birthday. Talking about birthday, somebody else who's had a really tragic or a hard life in the last couple of months, Jody Scheckter. Our only South African Formula One champion, drove a brilliant red Ferrari. How many of those? I mean, please. I'm going to keep quiet for a minute. Let the emotion sink in. Imagine the sound, the fury of a ground effect 312 Ferrari. Oh my God. It was brilliant.
I think something special for him was driving the car again last year at Monza.
Yeah.
I think
with the Tifosi. Because he was totally beloved.
Yes.
And wins a world championship, has a kakia afterwards, and goes and did some crazy stuff. Ended up organic farming, but had guns are good in the right hands. He had a virtual training thing for that in America. And now is Scheckter's organic drinks and
he's done a lot.
And he's Jody, and he loves cars, and he puts his cars on display. And absolutely fantastic. Right, let's move on to moving cars and sounds. You will see this picture behind us, which I think is iconic for a number of reasons. Daytona 24, no doubt, Stewie, you watched it. You've got to want to do that race.
It's always been a dream, and I think especially with all the South Africans moving to America, and unfortunately Calvin wasn't doing it because I think Audi structured it to not get with the jet lag and stuff between Daytona and Bathurst. But with all the South Africans there, I mean, Wayne Taylor has back-to-back victories, Daytona 25, completely different lineup.
Never mind back-to-back, it's 3 out of the last 4 Daytonas that Wayne Taylor Racing has won. And sometimes we forget Wayne Taylor's roots in Formula Atlantic with him and Duxbury, and for a guy,
he's been very successful overseas, building up his own team. And I mean, they made a big name for themselves. They had Fernando already race for them, Munich Kobayashi, all of them, Scott Dixon. So he gets big names in the car, and I think that shows with the results, winning 3 out of 4 Daytonas and back-to-back. And I'm pretty sure they're going for the hat-trick next year.
But there was a moment, I think with about an hour, 50-odd left, Scott Dixon was in the car, comes to the end of the pit lane and ignored the red flag, or the robot, which said stop at the pit lane, and they ended up with a 60-second penalty, which put them a lap behind. And who would have thought? I mean, that car was class of the field. Absolutely. And he just came back and boom, thank you very much, we'll have that.
But from testing, I think they were looking very strong. Mazda was always very strong for some reason on one lap pace. To get a 1 lap out, they're very strong. But to come back after that, and I think it's something, an easy mistake you can make was why would you, I don't think you'll be looking at the red lights in an endurance race.
This is Scott Dixon. But Scott frickin' Dixon, IndyCar legend.
But for 23 hours you were just getting in the cars, tightening the belts and driving out. So obviously the safety cars and stuff, they do red flag it to bunch it up, but it's also something the spotters and engineers need to look at, because the driver's busy setting all these settings. And I think it's an easy mistake to make when you're driving out of the pit lane. You're not actually looking at the marshal.
Interesting that you bring the driver's perspective in, because motorsport's a team sport. And, excuse me, catering brought that hamburger that we had earlier was just a bit dodgy. No, really, there was. Trust me, It was a
Have you escaped the coronavirus?
I want to talk about the coronavirus.
You mean the one in the bottle?
Watch it. So, motorsport's a team sport. You get in the car, you've got your rhythm, you've got your routine. Belts on, reset fuel, reset radio, change the pinger for the timing, and you going, and you need, Germans have got a great saying, 2 hours good, 4 hours better. And you've got team people on the radio who coach.
What?
But it's 23 hours. The guys have, they've probably gone 38, 40 hours without sleep.
Yes.
And sleep deprivation is worse than being hammered.
I think the big thing also becomes the mechanics get tired and stuff, so the pit stops do get a bit more dodgy to the end of the race. And also, for us, as soon as, even in South African endurance, as soon as the car lands, then you need to start resetting everything. All the maps are different from one driver to the next, power steering settings. And you need to do all of that before you get out of the pits to find all the buttons. So to miss something like a red light at the end of pit lane that's already to the one side that you physically need to look at to see.
It's kind of easy.
It's kind of easy.
It's understandable.
It's understandable to miss, but that's also where the team effect comes in, because at Daytona they have spotters on the tower. And they have all the engineers for all the data, and also they have the race officials speaking to them, so they should have known that the pit lane was red flagged.
But my man Montoya didn't make that mistake. I mean, he wasn't anywhere near the podium. There was an Acura. But the reason we're talking about this, about Daytona so much, well, there are a couple of them. South African team, Wayne Taylor Racing, dominates again, and there's significance in that, because there's another story that broke on the Friday when basically the ACO and IMSA made peace. And they said, because, backstory, FIA and WEC decide they're going with hypercar, and I could never understand whatever. And IMSA were going with DPR, Daytona Prototype International 2.0. So you've got these two divergent things, and all the races in the world said, WTF, join the things, and people have been fighting and moving forward. And then on Friday, finally, the ACO, people who organize Le Mans, and IMSA, people who organize Sebring, Daytona, they make the announcement in the presence of WEC, the WEC president from the FIA. So it's basically two series who's saying, guys, let's get our stuff together.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, Colin, because if you look at LMP1 and WEC, it's the only manufacturer is Toyota, and for them to get the people back to change the routes and do something that will push the car technology again. By going hypercar, there's been a lot of interest. Now, if you're adding all the American companies, you get Cadillac and all of them back. So it will push the car industry a lot, and also much better for us as racing fans, seeing all these brands going up against each other. And I think for a few years it's been lacking. But the manufacturer challenge in the top end of the prototypes, obviously in the GT classes, it's 7 or 8 manufacturers every time, but you still need them in the front of the field where the people want to watch, and what wins on a Sunday will sell on the Monday, and I think that will be a big thing.
I want to talk to you about hypercar. There was a lot of talk, a lot of interest. Essentially, Toyota said they were in, they drew some pictures. Aston Martin said they were in, drew some pictures. Glickenhaus said they were in, and they didn't even bother to draw some pictures.
It's a trim.
So there were all these, we're going to go for it, and they were kind of Norman nowhere. But DPI, you've got Mazda, Acura, Honda, Cadillac, General Motors, and they were looking at growing. So all of a sudden, that power balance in world sports cars kind of moves away from the WEC, because essentially WEC had Toyota and their fingers up their bum, and the rest were all in DPI, and DPI 2.0 was essentially the current car, and they were going to add a bit of electrical
But Colin, I won't be surprised if it pushes Porsche to come back, and also Audi, because to the public they need to prove that they're still better than other brands.
That's the point I wanted to make, because I think it can
I wondered why you were so quiet, Andrew.
it can only bolster the field across both categories. Yeah. It can only be a positive move, as you say. When have we seen a Cadillac or anything at Le Mans?
Because now Taylor, after winning and this announcement, well, you've got to take General Motors. General Motors with this picture of this car here, and we'll talk about that GDLM, and where GTLM and GT3 and stuff fits.
Well, Greg Charman's just brought up the point of saying it was a bloody good race in GTLM, and I think he's absolutely right. I mean that last 45 minutes, an hour with those with Tandy and Bamber in the Porsches was fantastic. But
weren't these the names, Tandy and Bamber? Strange that these were the guys who were at the Kyalami now. Last round of the Intercontinental GT Championship. We're getting to it because we love GT3 racing.
Absolutely. And they've now done a long haul flight to Australia, and they'll be at Bathurst this weekend, which I think is
but Tandy's a nutter.
Absolutely.
And Bamber's a
bit the same.
About the same.
But I think also to touch on the LMP for the last time, I think Le Mans should be interesting of the new top speed of the privateers of Ginetta and all of them. So I think Toyota won't have it all their own way this year in the Le Mans, and also the previous races we could see it's going to be a difficult one for them. So I think it's going to be interesting. GTE should be close battle as always. I think that's
okay. Now let's talk about GTE, because GTE is kind of a bit in the poo, and these cars are super freaking expensive. Let's just recap. You end up with a standard road car, you modify it a little bit, and it becomes a GT4 car. Then you modify that a truckload more and homologate all sorts of stuff, and it comes into a GT3, and then you take a GT3 and you modify the hell out of it, and it becomes a GTLM.
Well,
they are expensive to run.
I think the big step from GT3 to GTE is you lose the ABS, but you have more downforce, and you also have a little bit more power. But on tight tracks, the GT3 is not that much slower, so it makes it quite complicated.
But Le Mans is not tight.
That's it, but also you don't have GT3 in Le Mans.
Well, we should have.
And I think LMP2 is always a strong race at Le Mans.
LMP2 is the basis of DPI, which is going to be the basis of, what are they calling it now? I think we should just go to
LMDH.
I mean, what? Do me a favor. You've got to be creative. Graham Goodwin and Marshall Pruitt, American, they're absolutely brilliant. Marshall Pruitt calls the thing car. So I'm going to adopt Marshall Pruitt's thing, and we're just going to go with car until somebody comes up with a lekker name. Talking about GTLM, the Corvette. How cool is that? So Corvette goes from, with a new C8, front engine to back engine, a rumbling V8 to a screamer, because, oh my God, look at that thing. It's mid-engine, it's got a flat plane crank, it screams, it shoots flames. This is special.
Everybody loves a screamer.
For them, it was starting from scratch again, because the previous car and the previous generation of their car was complete opposite to what they had. And I think they didn't have that much testing. You have the test before the Daytona 24. The raw before
the 24. Don't you love the way the Yanks come up with shit like that?
I think they were struggling a bit. So I think in between it's 2 weeks gap, they made a big progress, big step. I think they learned a lot in the test. And then in the race to finish, P4 was pretty impressive. And I think as the year goes on and they develop the car more, they're going to be a strong package. Because for them, everything they learned on the previous generation car was basically in the dustbin starting from new. But it's a change they had to make to keep up with the rest of the manufacturers.
And surprise, surprise, Jordan Taylor, driver of the car. So the Taylor kids have flown the coupe. And Daddy has proved that he can win without the kids. Ricky's in a Penske Acura, translation in our language, Honda, with Fatboy Montoya, who's still one of my absolute favourites.
But he has got fat.
No, hold on.
He didn't walk straight past the pie van.
No. He used to stop at the pie van, and now he has slimmed down a bit. But, he and I, we don't go to the same gym. Where are my glasses? No, seriously. Guys, I can see nothing. All right, so enough with Daytona. Are we going to move on?
I think we should, yeah. Why not?
We got Convergence. I've just got to look at and what else happened this last weekend? Nothing. So, right, what are we coming up to? I've lost my glasses.
Bathurst 12 hour. Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hour.
Yeah, we've got some good racing.
Guys, can you talk a bit while I look for my glasses?
Yeah.
They are on the floor. What a dick.
Yeah.
Okay, Bathurst 24. Oh man, week after a Bathurst 24, the only sports car race or motor race in the world that I know of that starts in the morning, in the dark.
It's very odd.
5:45 in the morning. It's free, it's brilliant. Coverage starts at about 4 o'clock in the morning, Aussie time. So take 10 hours away from that. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, so take 10 away from 4, so it's -6, so it's 8 o'clock in the evening. And sorry for you, but it is streamed, and you've got to have 2 devices, because the one you need the pictures, and then you need the timing, and then you need the Insta and all that. And it's brought a whole new way of watching it.
Colin, is brilliant for us, but for the teams it's not. You have the Super Bowl the previous day, so the mechanics work through the night. And what I've heard from Calvin, them even the drivers need to be back 2 a.m. in the morning to start prepping for the race. So I think the mechanics work through the night and they don't sleep for at least 30 hours. And
it's a hard
and it's not
job.
It's not the easiest track in the world to drive as a driver as well. So it's
quite had a very interesting chat this morning with Jordan Pepper. And if you've got time after this show, go to Raceday.tv and you'll see we had a chat with him. And he says that at night it seems to narrow down a lot. And
I think you start getting tunnel vision with the lights against walls, especially as far as I understand from speaking to him and Jordan, or to Calvin and Jordan, is going down the hill at night is basically you need to know where your turning points is.
And it's a roller coaster down. The cool thing about Bathurst, to me, the track, is that there's 2 super long straights, so high speed is important. Power is important to climb the hill, and then proper aero and handling to come down the hill. But before we get too much into Bathurst, no doubt there are a few of you who've commented and sent your stuff. So, Andrew, is anybody watching and asking questions?
We do. We have Dion Fenter not asking questions. Greg Charman, our regular. Thanks for tuning in.
Good boy there.
Yeah, no, he obviously watched. He as I said, he chirped about the...
Very interesting. Greg is like another set of eyes for me.
Yeah,
and when Greg says, "Oh, did you see this?" Oh, Jesus, Greg, I can't be everywhere. And it's brilliant. Greg, thank you very much for your support and the passion. And that, Greg shows Raceday passion.
Absolutely.
Raceday is about petrol in the veins and octane and stuff.
But he's been watching the show from the beginning.
Since
good man. Right, so we've blown enough smoke there.
And then Sean Firstfeld was also tuned in, and Sean said, "Are you guys ready for this weekend's motorsport at Zwartkorps?" And we will get there. Sean, give us a chance. We're coming. It's we've got a lot to cover today, and that's definitely coming up a bit later. We've got some cool stuff happening there as well.
So what are we going to say about Bathurst? 8 manufacturers full-time in... Okay, let's just go wind back a little bit. Last year's Kyle Army 9 Hour was the end of the 2019 season of the Intercontinental GT Championship by Pirelli. I mean, I know you're a professional driver who knows how to drop the names. I learned from you, Stuart White. And this weekend is the beginning of a new season of Intercontinental GT Challenge by Pirelli. It is, to me, the ultimate series of GT races. 5 GT3 races, 5 races at 5 iconic circuits. All the continents. We start off at Bathurst. We do America, Circuit of Americas. We go to Belgium, Spa.
Then we go to...
How cool! I've got to get to Spa. If anybody... I tell you what, Vito Bonafide, please can we come and stay with you at Spa? And by the way, please...
We know some places there for good accommodation.
Yeah, cool.
As long as we're invited for the trip, we can go.
Then there's Suzuka. 10 hours of Suzuka. And each of the races is a different time. And then November this year, ending up at Kyle Army 9 Hour. I can't wait to see these cars in action again. So it's the start. There's 8 manufacturers. And let's just go through... And Stu, some help. I know that you know more about this and you're super passionate. Shall we start off with the winners? And those, the current champions. It was going to be Aston Martin, but no. Alabama Motorsport in the Porker. Last year's in a 28 2018 spec.
The thing with Bathurst is that it's the first race Intercontinental Challenge, so they'll still be using 2019's rules, and from the second event they will get the new rules.
But this year it's changed. So Mercedes have brought the first race of the 2020 spec of their car. We didn't see that at Kyalami, although I'm led to believe that in testing they ran some parts on it. So let's just go through. We've got Porsche, we've got Mercedes-Benz, Aston Martin, and they've confirmed for all of the races. So the requirement is you've got to have a minimum of 2 cars, but Porsche they've got 4 cars. Aston Martin have got 2 cars.
Mercedes have a few.
Mercedes have got 4 cars. Hold on. So we've got Porsche. I've got to count because I can't remember. I've got old timers. Porsche, Mercedes, Aston, Bentley, Audi,
Honda.
Ferrari.
No, Ferrari haven't confirmed for the season. I actually wrote it down.
Are entered for Bathurst.
Yeah, I know, but they were not. Aston Martin, BMW, Walkenhorst. Geez, how's Walkenhorst? They ended up with some. If you can, I tell you what. Here's a prize. The first person to give us all 8 manufacturers who've entered for the Intercontinental GT Championship by Pirelli, write it in the comments and you will win a one-of-a-kind signed, personally, Stuart White Racing cap. It's a cap he's wearing now, and he will sign a cap and we will make sure that you get it. It's a special memento, so please let us know the others. Let's just run through some of the other manufacturers, right? Honda, and I'm telling you what, Honda are going to come good.
They were strong in Kyalami until they had the engine failure.
Yeah.
And I think also, as far as I understand, it was also development for this year to come back stronger this year. And if you look at their progress through the year, from where they started in Bathurst to where they ended, was a big step. So I don't think you can count them out. Aston Martin was super strong on the hill last year with Jake Dennis. Actually, as far as memory serves, he put it on pole before getting excluded for a technical reason.
Yeah.
So I think that would definitely be interesting, and then obviously Porsche.
Lamborghini. We forgot about Lamborghini.
Yeah.
So
and Jake Dennis is with Scott Dixon, funny enough. Yeah. This year.
It's so nice having people who done homework, and even though we've all got electronic devices, and okay, so let's just run. Oh, Nissan with the GDRs, KCMG are back, and Alexander Imperatori, great oak, had an Eduardo. I mean, how cool is it? I met him in Terence Marsh's workshop, and how's it? He's, my name is Ed. Beautiful guy. Lamborghini are there, Acura, Honda, Nissan, BMW. So the story with Walkenhorst is that their cars were 2 of them that were here. Gennaro Bonafide drove one so well, and also our Rustenburg rocket, Michael van Rooyen. Never forget that was a special drive he had there, hey? Proper special.
And I think he was impressive showing the times compared to the guys that had much more GT experience compared to him. Coming from GTC is completely different to GT3.
Proper maturity as well. Yeah. Didn't crash it, didn't screw it, just
But from the Thursday drive. He was building it up, and I also spoke to him and he said to me, Stu, the thing is to finish the race, that's the goal. Yeah. And he was building it up all the way, and by qualifying he was getting pretty close to Bonafide's time, so I was really impressed with him.
So Walkenhorst Sea Freight, they put 2 cars in containers and they send them from Joburg to Australia, and there was some delays, and what they do is, so they weren't sure the car's getting to the mountain on time. No problem. We put a new BMW onto the aeroplane, and we fly it from Germany to Australia.
Wow. At probably what, $4 or $5 a kilo.
But that's
let's not go there.
It's also truckloads. It helps a bit when you have the manufacturer backing.
Yeah, and they
make something like that possible.
And that was the significance of that result that Bonafide and Van Rooyen got for Walkenhorst, with Mr. Walkenhorst driving the car. They won this the AMS. They were in negotiations with BMW at the time for bigger budget. They got their bigger budget. Aston Martin, Lamborghini, Mercedes, Nissan, Aston, Audi, Mercedes, and Porsche. It just goes on and on. It is
It's awesome.
And an interesting story about Jake Dennis, he's actually one of Red Bull's drivers as well. he tests the Formula 1 cars and does some of their media activation stuff.
Does he do any simulator work?
I think that's how they picked him up, was winning
really?
the simulator
That's
challenge.
awesome.
So talking about, plus we've got Jordan Pepper in the number 7 and Kelvin van der Linde in the 222 Audi. So there's 3 Audis that are run under Valvoline. Yeah,
that's
come
awesome.
on.
Just talking Bathurst, and on that perfect note of our South African drivers, we've had...
I think we've got a picture of the car.
Oh, there we go. We've got Dion Fenter that's come through and says, where can we follow the Bathurst 12-hour race?
Well, I think it's on the Intercontinental GT. They have a website, the same one for Kalami. It will be for all the races.
You should always follow the Intercontinental. I'll tell you, let me read
it is,
the address.
It is on the
Valvoline cars.
And as far as I know, if you search the Liqui Moly 12-hour live, it will also
pop up. You can go to bathurst12hour.com.au, or you can go to John Hindor, Midweek Motorsport. What is he?
I tell you what I'll do is
a bit of hunting. Andrew, find it.
I'll get those links. I'll put them up in our comment section. So anybody wanting to follow the Bathurst, it'll be up there for you guys. And just click on them and away you go.
Where are the notes? Aston, what we said. Oh, McLaren. So now the new cars, the current latest trick shit. And Mercedes, Aston Martin, and McLaren.
And funny enough, the McLaren is actually holding the fastest practice lap around Bathurst.
Yep.
With Shane van Gisbergen in 2016. 2 minute 1.2.
It's interesting to see how many of those Aussie supercar drivers are entered into the Bathurst 12 hours. There's a good list of them.
Well, you mentioned the list, so you've got to run through it. But we know that motor racing in Australia, especially their supercars, is ranked so high up.
And not just that, Colin, they have the track time on Bathurst that no one else has. Because they only close the road for 1 or 2 events a year, so it's not like you can go testing before.
There you go.
But I think we all know that these Intercontinental GT guys have got very good simulators and so on, and it doesn't take them terribly long to sort out a setup or sort out a driver.
But also with the 7-post rig, so they know the setup before they go to the track.
Exactly.
The amount of rondellas or euros that go into that is absolutely spectacular. So let's go out on a limb, a mega limb. Did we mention Kelvin van der Linde in the 222 and Jordan Pepper in the 7 Bentley? Go out on a limb, pick a car.
Well, I think my money will be on Calvin. He was pretty fast in the Super Pole last year. Small mistake cost him the pole, but I think for Super Pole can be Calvin, and then obviously the teammates come into it during the race. I think then it'll be close again between. I would like to see a fight between the manufacturers, not just one manufacturer running away in the front end. But I think Calvin was strong there, always has been. Jordan was strong.
Okay, but now you've got Kelvin, you've got Marcus Winkelhock and Mattia Drudy. Have you got those pictures and the faces? Show us Mattia, please, Henk. I mean, he's rookie.
He's rookie, but he's also not rookie if you look at his racing career. So.
Okay, I mean, there's a little kid. He's younger than you, Stu. Is that possible? No, he's not. He's like 3 months, 3 days older than you. I mean, because you're like 18, aren't you?
18, yeah. I think he just turned 19 if I'm not
mistaken. And there's Kelvin, and then Mr. Winkelhock. His uncle, drove Formula 1s and...
Yeah, amazing family.
And I think his dad raced with Kelvin's dad as well.
Yeah, and how cool is that? And we're going to talk about Kelvin's dad and Kelvin's brother and what they're doing this weekend a little bit later when you guys get your act together. So you choosing the 222 Audi.
Yeah.
Okay, well I can't. The race day rule is that you're not allowed to choose a car that somebody else chose. So I don't know why the hell we let a ginger go first. I'm going to go with a 7. But I like the Porsches.
Well, Porsche is strong. Kalami now it'll be interesting to see how Bentley fight back after their Kalami. They had struggles and stuff.
I'm going to go with the 7. Pepper, Maxi Soucek and...
Maxime Souley. I've actually got an interesting fact about Maxime Souley, and I don't know if anybody out there will remember this, but he actually raced in South Africa. He raced Formula GTI in South Africa in the year 2000.
Where do you come up with this shit?
I've been around a while. He was run out of Zoo Lake Garage and he was sponsored by Willie's Waffles.
Funny
story.
Hold on, Willie's Waffles. That sounds like a Benny Knock shop. Hold on, and it comes out of Zoo Lake Garage.
Even better.
With that reprobate there.
Somebody even put an FAG bearing sticker just after Willie's, so just to really rub it in. But yeah, Maxime Soulet raced here for a year in Formula GTI, and they'd just done that bodywork change to make it look like a Euro F3 car, and here he is lined up in the Intercontinental GT Challenge. So there you go. Fun fact for the day.
And
I'll tell you what, if you've got a funner fact.
My pick for the winner, I think I'm going to go Earl Bamber.
Earl Bamber. Well, they are the defending champions.
They are the defending champions, and you just watched him at Daytona. I mean,
and it's the Porsches, the latest Evo Porsche. Yeah. Last year they won with the old hack, and they're bringing the new one Evo now. And
you can just see the way he's driving. He's hungry to win. He wasn't holding anything back when he was battling with Nick Tandy at Daytona.
Nick Tandy's my boy.
Well, he's awesome. He is
not
awesome.
At Kyle Armies.
Yeah,
I mean, Tandy was an animal.
Absolutely, but he always has been. I'm going.
I hope he's not watching. Nick, we kind of respect and.
Oh, big respect. I think
being
called an animal in motorsport.
So they all try to tell me I knew nothing from who was who, and they try to tell me who different names. Okay, so we've. Tell us come. Give us a comment. I want to see comments and who you think is going to win. Or is it going to be Gruppe M in the yellow Merc? Are they going to get it to run more than one corner?
Do you know that was a brand new car that failed on the first corner, which is even worse?
Oh, they crashed it.
It was brand new until Mexico scribbled
on Friday in the rain.
No. And then I got a warning because we got a picture of the underneath of it, and Mercedes will not take the picture of the underside of our car, yeah?
I have some of it hanging in my workshop. I've got some of the front splitter hanging in my workshop.
How cool is the carbon on that stuff?
So cool. Have you seen the mechanic was standing on the front splitter? He's like, yeah, what is the problem? This is built to last, yeah?
Yeah, and I drink a lot of I eat a breakfast for days, and it is not a problem. Do not worry, we will take over the world.
Yeah,
eventually.
Except our fuel pumps are not so good.
and don't you are so bad.
I didn't say
so
anything.
We got Mercs. Right, let's talk about some other news.
And
in other news, apparently the rumor mill is going wild. We're getting to this coming weekend because there's a couple of cool bits are happening. I know nothing about motorbikes, but I'm going to motorbikes. He's going to SWAT Corps, and he's going to SWAT Corps, and there are a whole lot of old farts going to SWAT Corps. So we're going to talk about that and the history of and stuff about SWAT Corps. But there's a whole lot of other in other news.
Well, I think the one that piqued our interest today was the rumor reported on several reputable websites. I must quote that.
So you go trawling the web to bring your news.
Well, no, I go. There was some news, and then of course you go and sort of dig a little to sort of see how well known this news is. And the big, I think it's big talk, is that Jonathan Aberdeen reportedly is talking to BMW about a seat in DTM.
But hold on, Audi. Jonathan Aberdeen, Chris Abbo. No, Jonathan was tight with Audi.
Yes.
Now, how the hell does Jonathan go from Audi to BMW?
Well, Colin,
you know what I like? Is stuff... what does a duck do? A duck swims serenely across the top of the water.
And at the bottom it's pedaling.
And underneath it's pedaling like... And, I've seen people pedal.
Well, Colin,
I've seen Oaks pedal hard. And I tell you what, sneaky move there. Shall I cough now?
He was very impressive in his debut year, and a lot of I saw a ranking of the top 10 drivers in the year, and I think Sheldon was ranked 10th and Aberdeen 7th, and he was very good on a one-lap pace.
Was it we all know that the Audi was a class of the field and the BM was a dog.
Yeah, I think.
Was it the car?
Well, if you look compared to the other Audi drivers, he did pull laps, and he was getting close to Rene Rast that was dominating the season. And even Russ said this kid is good in qualifying. So I think on the DTM race pace is difficult it's a long race. You need to manage a lot, and I think that comes with experience.
And there's a lot of strategy as well.
Yes, and if you look at Sheldon and Aberdeen, they developed a lot during the year, and also a lot of people got lucky with strategy, like when they stopped early in the one race, and then they'll get a safety car, and the next person will try it, and it won't be a safety car, and you in the back.
Have you just listened to what you said now?
I think
in the top 10 of the rankings, the general consensus of ranking of DT frickin' M drivers, 2 South Africans.
That's fantastic. And the bigger upset with this news is that he's going to push Robert Kubica out of a seat should he get it.
Well, that's fine.
And we know Robert Kubica, we know, was sort of relying a lot on sponsorship more than necessary ability.
You've got to be nice. Apparently, if people are nasty to... apparently it's Kubica.
Kubica, sorry.
If you're nasty to him, then the Poles get Polish and they move you.
I'm not being nasty. Let's be realistic about it. Let's look at his age. Let's look at the talent, the pool of talent coming through.
He's super talented, but he's physically...
He really got injured.
Let's say, I mean, no. He effectively drives with one arm.
He does. But look, if you can manage an F1 car, I'm sure you can manage a DTM. That's my take on it.
No, I'll go with that.
That's fair. You know, you've been driving a Williams all year. That's fair, right?
Yeah, but that's not an F1 car.
I think also some stages the manufacturers also need to believe in the young kids and give them opportunities. I mean, even if you look at Formula 1, some of the drivers, there's 20 seats, they're sitting there for 17 years. If you look at Nick de Vries, he was deserved of a Formula 1 drive. Look at all his coming through the ranks and what he did in Formula 2. He deserved a seat and there was no seats.
But who do you kick out?
But
don't say Kimi.
No.
Never say Kimi.
I'm just saying that if there's a seat open, rather than getting, let's say a seat goes open at Mercedes or whatever now, rather than getting Rosberg back, take Ocon or someone that's still, that deserves a chance, not someone that's already been there for 16 years.
Except Kimi. I mean, if any seat's open, you employ Kimi because Kimi is Kimi. Well, and he's quick enough to do a whole lot of stuff. And I truly believe the value that he brings to Formula 1, to any team, is the rub-off of the coaching and the guidance and looking after a kid. Because, I mean, the guys who are older than you or younger than you have made their debut in Formula 1, and the maturity that's required to go from an oak driving his father's tractor around the farm in Bloemfontein to driving in a Formula 1, it's a mega leap, and I think you need and we know that the Formula 1's a pool of piranhas. You need a friendly hand, somebody who's not adverse.
But Colin, the pressure and everything already starts in karting. It's not the old days where you had to take all the steps to learn all the pressure. Now in karting, you already arrive in teams that look like you're in Formula 1 with tents that are pitched up. You have 2 mechanics for a driver. And
do you think that's fair on the kids? I mean, we see some of that at Swartkorps with dads living vicariously through their kids.
Well, Colin, I think in South Africa it's still quite relaxed overseas, and overseas you don't have the dad that's hard on the kid, it's the team managers. And I think that's also where you learn how to stand up for yourself, because if you keep laying down, you'll never learn how to build yourself up. So I think already on the 8, 10, 11 and upwards, you're already learning the pressures, and you're racing against much older guys already. So you learn how to handle all of that. You're already in the corporate world of media and big sponsorships and stuff, and big team managers that are very...
And we're talking to somebody who's gone through that route and you've learned truckloads, hey?
You race for teams that Max Verstappen raced for, Rosberg raced for. The people you race for, they don't change. The expectations for you is still to win and carry their name. So what they did with Max or whatever, they were going to do to you as well. And more people they get, obviously, the harder they get. And I think that's also, they want you to do well, and that's how they need to form you already in karting to go to the next level. So by the time Max Verstappen came to Formula 1, I don't think it was a big step, but you already have all the media and all of that, a lot more media. But from the team principal point of view and what's expected from you and the way you need to work stays relatively the same.
And he also had his dad, ex-Formula 1 driver, who's a bit of a hard badass.
Well, I think his dad was never easy on him, and if you hear all the backstories and karting and stuff, it was never made easy for Max, and he had a lot of pressure on him from his dad's side of point of view.
How hard was your dad on you as when you grew up and racing? I'm not being funny. I'm truly.
And be careful because we both know your dad.
I mean, your dad's a great guy.
Well, I think
and one of the friendliest guys around. But when behind the doors, how hard was your dad on you?
Well, I think it's like a business, Colin. If you have your best friend in a business, you have a business relationship and a way from business relationship. But me and my dad always knew where we stood with each other, and if we had a problem, we spoke about it and carried on. I think it was always necessary. Every now and then you need to be in a bit of trouble, whatever, just to wake up again and notice that you're not the best. You need to keep on working. And you can always make mistakes, you need to learn. And I think that's also where the team I raced for was very good with Etienne Ruiz, and they had a lot of experience, and he also raced from a young age. So he knew what we were all going through, and we had a lot of kids in the team. So they knew when to be hard on us, but also when to build us up. Because if you keep breaking someone down, eventually they'll lay down. So you always need to, it's quite a fine balance, how hard you can be on someone and how much you need to motivate a person.
And you couldn't, you and your dad go everywhere, you're a team. You can't do it without each other, can you?
Well, Colin, from day one, my dad started racing. It was always involved
off-road,
in off-road in a single-seater, and always involved in the garage. And then we went to karting, and it was always me and my dad doing everything on the kart. Even some international races, we only got mechanics for the big races. So it was always me and my dad, and I think that gave us a very special bond until today. Even he can't be that involved as he would like to be. Obviously, with the cars, he's always there.
And with his brine machine.
He's always there, and he won't miss a race. I can't think of one race that my dad's not been in. He always do a lot of efforts and move other stuff, other commitments to come help. And my dad also gave up his racing career because some races were clashing, and he was more asking through the team radio what's happening with me than focusing on his own race. And I think
you feel I don't know what the right word is, but do you feel a pressure? I don't know if that pressure's the right thing. I mean, you understand, and I know you value what your dad has done for you and the sacrifices, and not only your dad, but the rest of your family have gone through. Do you feel how do you pressure? How do you handle that pressure to deliver for them?
Well, I was very lucky, I think, compared to other people's. My whole family found an interest in it, so it's. Most of the races was always traveling together. Obviously, if my sister on university is a bit more difficult. But all the karting races was every weekend we went together, and it was more of a family thing.
Like a family outing.
Family outing, and if there was one weekend that there was no racing, none of us really knew what to do.
Go work on the car.
So I think my dad played a big role, especially helped me a lot, understanding all the corporate world and what to do. And he was hard on me when he had to be hard on me. And then I always had the family support going everywhere. So I think there's a lot of pressure, obviously. Everyone gives up a lot, but the day you stop having fun might as well be the day you stop. Because if your dad messaged me and said, the day you want to stop, we stop. There doesn't have to be pressure to carry on racing.
I remember that day, and around that, the day after, your dad and I had a couple of messages, and I actually thought that I'd overstepped the background, because in my view, and I know it may come across to some people as heartless, is that while he's your friend, there's a wall, and when he dies, it's frickin' sad. But the world goes on.
Yeah.
And race drivers can be mean bastards, but you have to be.
When you step onto the racetrack, you're not friends.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you're racing against. I think me and Scott Temple showed it quite well. Off track we were friends, but on track we raced each other like you don't know the guy in the next
Crazy guy that, eh? Good driver.
Very good driver. And I think that was the big thing. Obviously it's sad when something like that happens, and it's tragic for me the tragic thing was witnessing it. And
I see the emotion. I mean, there's no dust in the studio, but clearly that one speck of dust has got into both your eyes.
Well,
and I respect that, because without emotions, we animals.
When I started my Formula 4 career, the person that was there to train the young kids and developing the new car was Anton Hubert. So we spent a lot of time with him, and I never physically raced against him. And if someone is that much older than you see him as a role model, and he won the championship the year before I came in. So it was always someone you're looking up to and asking questions how to do this. So I saw him as a big role model, and then
and a helping hand.
And later on I met Correa, that's obviously still very injured and struggling, but I knew him on a very personal level through the Sauber program, and he was always we called him the jokey one. He was always the one making jokes and carrying on. So as soon as
and that crowd is Charles Leclerc,
Callum Eilert.
That's the gang that they rolled with.
And the bad thing was when he was in the coma and stuff, there wasn't the jokes on the group or the motivation or anything like that. And I think then you realize what he actually brought to the group. And we were all for quite a while afterwards, it was going really bad with him. And obviously he's on his recovery now, but his leg is still quite badly injured.
He's bloody lucky to be alive.
He's very lucky. It was very unfortunate event that happened. And also I think a few weeks ago he posted that he will be working on making a racing comeback. He said he considered life again and everything afterwards. And I think as not just he does, but a lot of racing drivers that didn't even want to race in Formula 1 the day after from Renault wanted to pull out, and they also understand the show has to go on.
But that's the thing about racing. And I mean, it's really shit that on the one hand you've got the emotion with that and the roller coaster of emotion. So you've got the spectre of death hangs over us and reaps those that we know not why. But there's the joy, the highs on the other side also live with us, and it's that amazing contrast of emotions that makes life freaking difficult and interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's why I gained a lot of respect for Charles Leclerc, because he's been through a lot of difficult things in his life, and he kept showing, even if it's his F3 championship he dedicated to Jules Bianchi, that got him into racing and everything. And then the week before Baku, his dad passes away, and he goes on to win both races the weekend, wins the championship, dedicates that to his dad. And then the day before he won his first ever Grand Prix for Ferrari, his best friend passed away. And I think for him to show how strong he could be mentally and what he could go through and still deliver, showed me.
Guy's going to be good. To me, he's a future world champion.
I think that showed that he has to be a force to be reckoned with, and I gained a lot of respect. I already knew him personally as well through his brother with the racing, but I think that day was, where a lot of people stood up and said he's the next champion.
Andrew, Horn Dog, what's happening?
I'll get to that now. I just think to touch on that, I think we've all been at a racetrack where someone's passed away, and it just, the atmosphere is so drastically different suddenly, and it's like flicking a switch. And I think from being a place that we all can't wait to get to, it actually turns into a place you can't wait to get away from. It's actually the most awful feeling.
Time brings some level of, I won't say healing, but understanding, and I can go to Swartkorps now and revel in the joy of my brother.
Yeah.
Whereas 5 years ago I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yes. Okay. No, I'll agree with you.
Because life does go on. Because and we owe those who've sacrificed. We owe them life.
Most racing people would be the first people to say, "Well, get on with it."
Yeah. Right. What have you got there?
What have I got?
To put a dampener. I don't want to be. What do you call it?
I've got a slightly off-topic comment
from
Peter Anker that says, "Have you seen the new NRC National Rally Championship regs?"
Yes, I have. And are we not excited?
It's awesome. We will touch on that one. Mark Berger, Higher Ground.
Hello, Mark. How are the burgers there, my boy?
Hello,
great
boys.
place. High Ground, if you ever want to function, whatever, just a cool view, take your bonnet there and check the sunset. It's like fully cool, bro.
It is. But
Higher Ground in the grounds of Hook Up with Mark. Higher Ground, you know it. Great.
And then Henry Cohn says that Massey Ferguson that Stewie drives on the farm is proper fast. Terry Wilford's joined us. How's it, Terry?
Terry Wilford's, there's V8s coming up this weekend. He's been groveling. They were out testing today. Did he go?
There was some V8s testing. I wasn't sure if we all tested. I saw some V8s testing. It's a bit busy with some other programs and stuff.
I want to talk about what you did there, but significantly on the V8s, they've gone from a cross-ply Goodyear tyre to a radial Goodyear tyre. Yeah. Cross-plies we know, like They've got a very forgiving fall-off. You can get them massively sideways. I think a few oaks are going to be in for a few surprises.
I think it's going to change a lot, and also the drop-off will be a lot more.
Your setup of the car is going to be important, and your traction control
on the foot.
Yeah. What else you got there?
What else have I got here? I've got Jompus Matei saying Davey is a hero. That came through while you were talking about your dad, and I think those of us that know him and hang around with him at racetracks will agree
He truly is a hero.
He is truly a
hero.
hero.
And I'll tell you what, if you could enter him into the world's best briar competition, and with those onions, just picture the scene. A racetrack with onions, and you know the smell that onions get when they caramelize, and then tomatoes and boerewors and stuff and beer. My mouth is watering. And that is the stuff of legends. The legend that is David Witboy. David White, this boy's father. What else have we got? Oh, this weekend. Let's talk briefly. First of all, I mentioned that Monocle, we have Raceday.tv is dedicated to the characters, the spirit, and the growth of South African motorsport and some of the South African heroes. And in that, we started focusing on four wheels. But if four wheels is good, two wheels is also lekker. So we've started Keith Botha and Cliffy. Last night was their first show called Hanging Cable. And you can just imagine Richard Roots. That's something he would do.
Yeah.
He's building a 350. Reggie, if you're watching, we love dogs, we love your bike, and we think you're mad. But he's a great joke. He's brilliant. We've got to go and watch that Rubber Duck World Championship down there. Indeed. Maybe we can get your father to get a bus together and a braai, a truckload of beer, and we go and shout for Reggie.
I think
and Dagmar, don't forget Dagmar.
I do a little bit of work in between.
So Hanging Cable debuted last night. It is a dedicated bike show and motorcycle racing show on Raceday.tv. It'll be on the Tuesday before a race and on the Tuesday after a race. And this weekend is the start of the Monocle series at Red Star. And I'm going to help the gang of Raceday.tv. I'm looking forward to that. And then on Sunday, it's the superbikes. And all the superbikes have got R's in them. Sheridan Mariah on a BMW 1000 RR.
A really racing bike.
R's because they cost R's. And then the Honda. So it was a great show. So follow that. This weekend also, the historic races, it's, what do they call it? Legends of the
9 Hour.
No, but it's not.
The name changed, but it's the 18th running of the event.
It's basically like a whole...
Passion for speed.
Passion for speed. And then it's one event this weekend at Swartkorps, and then it's basically replicated in Cape Town next weekend. Obviously of different competitors and classes and stuff.
One of the discussions we had earlier was that Sean van der Linde, him father of Sheldon and Kelvin, has been invited to drive the 325 that he very first started driving in Group N against, and it's a real car. This car, chassis number, the whole lot. It found its way to Zimbabwe. It came back as strange. Well, everything that comes from Zimbabwe comes back. Anyway, it came back and it was rebuilt, and it is a replica of the car. They went out testing today. They had one or two issues. I won't elaborate on that, but that's been resolved. And the same guy, and I forget his name, has also got replicas of Michael Briggs's Superboss. Was Briggsy here, or he's on his way? I was told that he's coming to race, but 2 days ago he was still in Australia.
I have no idea.
So what are you driving? Stuart White, the youngest oak in racing history, fastest ginger in the world. Tell us.
Oh, this weekend I got approached by Davy de Villiers from Glenwood Motors. So he has
Davy.
The
legend.
There's a picture of the car. So we're racing that test. Did my first few laps in the car today.
3-litre GTV.
So it's an old classic car racing the pre-83 class. I was pretty impressed with the car. Obviously a lot different to what I'm used to. Still no driver aids, no power steering, old H-pads and gearbox, a bit of heel and toe has to go on. So it was pretty.
And the sound.
Oh, the sound's amazing. I mean, it's the raw old racing cars, and I'm actually not a lot of people that get opportunity like this to drive cars like this. So amazing opportunity I got from Uncle Davy, and I'm really looking forward to the weekend. And also,
by the way, what lap times it do?
Oh, I think we'll get down to probably high 15s.
That's actually really quick if you think of the period of the car.
And also the rules this weekend was it goes back to the old rules because it's the international event. So they had to take the motor out that wasn't in the car and put the more standard motor back in it.
Yeah, because remember when they raced in Group 1, there was a likeness to rules. Basically, that just anything went in the war of, and there's lots of law that. But you didn't only drive the Alpha, you also, Henk, there's a picture of that red and white car. Come on, show us. Let's wait for this picture, and then there's a story. And there's more to this story than just one picture. So, yeah.
So I had a bit of a busy day. It was a bit of a double up.
Why are you blushing?
It was bit 99. I got asked by Charles Arangis to help. He's one of his new customers, Bradley van Zemmelen, that purchased the McLaren. So the guy's new into racing, and they basically asked me about 2 days ago, would you be able to help the guy with a bit of driver training, UI, Swarkops, all of that. So I arrived this morning, just thinking to sit passenger seat and help this guy. So he's like, no, I'm going to drive my other car bits, and you go shake the car down and tell me what you think. So I did a few laps in the car. Was absolutely amazing. It was
What are the bits on that car that that you thought, yeah, lekker?
Oh, it was the first time that I had that kind of ABS in the car. So for me, that was the big thing, was how quick you could get that heavy car stopped. And then also it was the first few laps in the GT3 car, and right away I felt very comfortable in the car. It's a difficult car to drive, it's a bit twitchy and stuff, but it just breathed confidence into you. And it was on old tyres and heavy fuel, but I had a lot of fun.
In terms of the driver excuse book, old tyres, fuel, rev limit, what are the other cock stories they talk? All that excuses.
Wind down the back straight, was that there?
Stuart, come
was
on.
the wind too high?
A bit of traffic.
You got them.
Some guy in an Alpha GTV6, maybe.
Oh, man. Okay, so what time? Time.
Well, today we really didn't worry about any times.
Oh, jeez, I really want him on.
He's lying and smiling.
There's no freaking racing driver who ever gets in a car, and including me. No, not worried about the time. Bullshit.
Hey, we've raced together.
You are worried. Yeah, what is
we
the
did
time?
1 minute, high 1 minute to low 1 minute ones.
Okay, that's wrong.
But
considering
so
old
what,
tires,
58s on new tires? No wind, no traffic?
Yeah, that thing should do.
Me and Charles reckon the car's good for 59s on a cold day.
Yeah.
Okay. And low fuel. So now it was a bit new to me, GT3 car and stuff.
Were you running Pirellis on it?
We were running Pirellis.
Have you still got the restrictor in it?
Hey, Mark.
I'm not
Mark, come with new tires for that car and put Stu in the car just for a lap.
So today was mostly just focus on the client to get him comfortable in the car, to do his first few laps in a proper racing car.
How did you find that experience of sitting next to somebody and coaching him?
Well, I prefer sitting behind the steering wheel, being in control, but it's something you also need to consider in long term. It's something that helps.
David Perrell makes a living out of coaching GT3 drivers.
And it's a completely different experience, and just as much a driver has to learn about his car and what he needs to do, I need to learn about coaching as well.
So, the other thing is that he's sitting with a significant investment in metal, and maybe when you've spent all your, we know that you're a super highly salaried person, but when you spend all of that sort of money on a thing, you get sponsored. Oh, you're still riding bicycles, by the way. Talking about sponsors and really good people.
Well, that's
riding bikes, Scott bikes?
Something I've been very lucky with the past 2.5 years, been associated with Scott Sports South Africa. So it's actually, especially over the off season when you go on holiday and you can't always get to the gym and stuff, it's something you can get up every morning, get away from everything. And also during the season, it's a good way to break away, is to go for a long bicycle ride or whatever, and it helps the fitness a lot. So I've been very lucky with Scott Sports South Africa being associated with me in a brand ambassador type of way during the last 2.5 seasons. So that's been very positive for me and helped me a lot in the long run.
They make some cool bikes, and I like the new color schemes, all the day glow stuff, and it's like.
I think they're doing some interesting stuff bicycle, you can only change that much. So they're trying to mix it up a bit, so it's really interesting.
You get all the proper electric gears in it, put Shimano, all the electrics in Shimano in it, and drive it off your phone. Yeah,
put a motor in the down tube.
No, it's got, well, they got that as well for the fat asses like me who want to keep up with the snort ups. Guys, we're talking cuck for, so much stuff.
Okay, wait, I've got something for you. Okay, we've got, on Sasha Martinengo shared our stream, so and his comments feed, Lee Phillips came in and said Maxime Soulet was in talks with him at a stage to run a 350Z in production cars. Way back when, and Maxime's father had a game farm up in the Warm Baths area. Now Bella, but Warm Baths in the sort
Bella. I was up there last weekend, which is why I couldn't watch so much of because the signal is not so lekker there.
But
Lee Phillips is a superstar, and
he also
don't you regret not signing this Maxime dude?
Well, the other problem is you're now going to have to courier that cap to Mauritius to Lee, because he's the one that got the manufacturers right.
Okay, so
I'll send it with Craig when he goes back.
No, what Lee? We mentioned there's terms and conditions. There are always terms and conditions. You have to come and collect it at our studio, and at the same time, have a beverage and a talk with us, Lee Phillips. So when you're next in Joburg.
Yeah, Lee and my former teammate Howard Blake were good mates and ran those 350Zs at that time.
It was exciting stuff. It was the first time that Glyn actually let loose his full factory cars to a privateer.
Yeah, and Howard Blake Digital Capital purchased them.
Who does Howard Blake? What is that? Howard Blake at Digital Capital, you say?
Blake Digital Capital, yeah.
And what's that badge on your shirt say?
I can't read now.
Xena Chemicals with an X in it. Give us the names of those 9 manufacturers.
You got to get me back to comments.
Hustle. I mean, how does it
the other comment was it's Oliver Broom with the replica or the old Group N cars.
Yeah.
So Sean Punlin has BMW. So Ollie Broom has escorts and all sorts of stuff, and his brother Josh has actually got a V8 Radical lying around somewhere, which would be great for the endurance series.
So while you look for those manufacturers, you talk about the new rules for South African Rally Championship, National Rally Championship. Essentially, the biggest thing is that they found an overall tyre sponsor, MRF Tyres, which I think is absolutely brilliant. For those of you who don't know, MRF were a large Indian company. They rank in the top 10 tyre manufacturers in the world, and actually had got to the point of about to be tyre supplied to WRC, but then Pirelli basically went back to the FIA and said, scusi, quanto costa? And they paid shit tons of euro, and that's why Pirelli, I'm told, some say, observers at the final test said that the MRF tyres performed the best. So that's the one thing. And there's limits to the number of tyres, but the biggest change, I think, is that all cars that compete in the championship are now eligible to score points for the overall championship, and they're broken down into NRC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, faster cars to slower cars. So if whatever rally car you've got, whether it's an old Mark II Golf, Tony Ball apparently he was such a superstar, and he's so quick, even in his old age, because Tony must be about 84 at the moment, but he's as quick as like a 19-year-old in a Golf 2. So Tony, bring your Golf 2, come and rally, because rally is lacquer, and whatever you've got, there's beautiful Mark II escorts that scream and proper stuff. There's 2 R4 cars with 4-wheel drive 1600 turbo, trick, go fast, lacquer, goosebumps, musa lacquer. It's unbelievable, but we'll bring some more about. We'll bring you a dedicated show on rally.
Yes.
What else you got?
You wanted.
I wanted the manufacturers.
You wanted those manufacturers. So it was BMW, Aston Martin, Mercedes-Benz, Lamborghini, Honda, Nissan, Ferrari, and Porsche, and Bentley.
9.
That's 9. And that's correct.
I want to call him out.
On Ferrari?
Yes.
Incorrect. It's on the entry list.
But
have they withdrawn?
Entered for the full championship? The answer, my dear friend.
The question was,
the question was,
Bathurst.
No, it wasn't. It was who's entered for the Intercontinental GT Championship. Focus, China. You frickin' dwarf.
No,
listen to the question. RTFM. Yes. Right, we'll reopen. Lee, you're wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll pay a penalty that you choose, except if it's rude. So I'll do some more homework. Guys, we're talking, it's gone on too long. Stuart White, the fastest ginger in the world. Thank you for your honesty and sharing and the research, hard work that you put into this. Please come again, because it is such a pleasure talking to you.
I will do, and thank you for the invite today from Raceday.tv, from Colin and Andrew. It was was a fun show to do with you guys. We'll definitely be back in the short future, hopefully with a bit more news on what's going to happen, but for now it's all still a little bit confidential.
We avoided that because your legal department came in and got us to sign documents,
Yes.
and
It's not easy.
the things that we have to go through to get global superstars, even though they're ginger, onto our show is absolutely crazy. Andrew Horn, thank you very much for your hard work, your research.
Thank you for having me.
You guys make this thing easy for me,
Good.
for us. To the Henkinator in his control booth, nodding along. Henk,
Looks
Brits,
great there.
thank you very much for producing. And to each and every one of you who took your time out to watch, comment, and have engaged with us, thank you very much.
And the live audience.
And the live audience of one, the best briarer in the world. He's fasterer, he's quickerer, he's funnierer. He's a good, and he knows how to make good kids. So thank you very much for watching. Be safe, be lekker, be fast, have fun. Find whatever you do. Find a racetrack, or an event, a motoring event. Go and support it. And ask not what racing has done for you, but ask yourself, what did I do today to make racing betterer again? Be well. Thanks. Cheers.